Ever wonder what sets the winners apart from the losers? And what does it really take to be a winner? My name is Federico, and I'm a young, successful entrepreneur passionate about sports, real estate, mindset, and business. If you are just like me, then the Winning Ways podcast is meant for you. Yo, welcome back to Winning Ways with Fred. My name is Federico, and I am your host. Guys, special show for you guys today. Special show for me. I've been following the gentleman here for over 5 years, has seen his growth. It's amazing. The story goes to show that impossible is nothing. Before I do get started, guys, please share the show. That's the only way I grow the show. I don't run ads, and I'm not going to run ads. Find it annoying when I'm hearing a podcast, and every 15 minutes there's an ad. So I'm not going to do that to you guys. So please share it, especially this one. It's worth it. Heavy note-taking day. Guys, without further ado, Bashar, how are you, brother?
I am doing excellent. Thank you very much for having me. How are you?
I'm great, man. Excited for this one. You know, like I said in the beginning, man, I've been following you for quite some time. Your story is remarkable, man. And I'd like to get started there. My audience probably knows who you are already, but if you could give them the background, that story, especially how you started your restaurant, it's remarkable, man.
Well, first, I appreciate you having me. How far do you want me to go back?
I would like you to go back where you started, right? I know your story, you decided to open up a restaurant, right?
Right.
And that's where I'd like you to start, because that's where I believe, based on the story I know of yours, is your hardest time, where your restaurant burned down, you were $150,000 in debt, and you figured out a way to persevere through that. So that's a winning way, right? So that's where I would like you to start.
Sure. So this was 2013. I had just came out of owning my first business with my family. Which anyone listening, if you ever get a chance to get into a business with your family, run away, don't do it. Unless you've got a different family dynamic, then that's different. But for me, it just wasn't the most enjoying time, especially because there's that family dynamic. There isn't the layers of, there is no, you do this, I do this. It's more like we all do it all, and then you clash, and it just doesn't work out. So after I realized that trying to run a business with my family just wasn't the right thing for me, I decided to go on my own. And so at the time, I had a chance to invest in a restaurant that was a dive bar. And I thought at 23, having only ran a restaurant for like a year prior to that, had barely managed a couple employees, that I had everything that it took to run a multi-million-dollar a year business with managing 10, 15, employees every single shift. And that I knew everything that anyone could know about running a restaurant, because I had been watching John Taffer on Bar Rescue 6 months prior and taking notes, watching reality TV, thinking that I know what the hell I'm doing. And unfortunately, that's the same problem that I see with a lot of people nowadays. They'll watch someone on YouTube or Instagram or something, or like they'll be watching me, and I'm talking about Amazon. And then after 6 months of watching me, they'll go and start, try to launch a business on Amazon. It won't go anywhere. And then they'll come back and say, "Oh, you're a scam. You don't know what the hell you're talking about." Well, I mean, they're 30-second reels. It's not like I can teach you everything that one can be taught in 30 seconds. And so that was my experience, and I had a very big ego at 23 that I thought I knew it all, and no one could tell me what to do. No one could tell me that I'm doing something wrong. No one could tell me how to fix it, because I knew it all. And unfortunately, about 6 months into it, I realized that I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And this was, I don't know what day it was. I was driving to the restaurant. I lived about 10 minutes away. And I got a call from Trish Henry. She was one of our bartenders. She said, "Hey, Bashar, my bank just called and my check bounced." I was like, "What are you talking about? Your check bounced?" I was like, "Well, there's got to be a problem." I logged into my bank, and I was like negative $500 or $600. And those of you that are watching are like, "What kind of a business owner are you that doesn't even know how much money there is in the bank?" Exactly. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. And that's when I realized that I was in trouble, that I didn't know what I was doing. Over the following couple of years, I would struggle very badly, working 120 hours a week, trying to do it all, but not getting anywhere, working as hard as I could, but just not seeing the result. And I know a lot of people are in that position. They wake up every day, they put in the work, they bust their ass, and then it's like, It's been 6 months. I just don't see anything. How is this person on Instagram living this incredible life when it doesn't even look like they're working at all, where I'm busting my ass and there is nothing? And unfortunately, sometimes you just have to keep going because it's those little steps that every day doesn't seem like it's a lot, but after a long time, it adds up. And then you'll see the overnight success, but you don't see what happened prior to that moment when they blew up and became someone, right?
Yeah.
April 28th, 2015, 5 p.m. I left the restaurant to go pick up my girlfriend, who's not my wife. I got a call from John, the bartender, saying that the kitchen was on fire. By the time I got back, the kitchen was absolutely destroyed. And that was probably the worst day of my life up until today, because I had no insurance. And that's when everything pretty much went south from there.
Wow. Wow, man. A lot to unravel here because you had this investment in a restaurant.
Yeah.
You were getting it going, trying to figure it out. I mean, you definitely learned from your mistakes. It was the worst day of your life, but I assure you it was probably a turning point in your life too, because it changed your mindset and your view, right? And then from there, you decided to start studying this whole Amazon model, correct?
So yeah, within about 4 to 6 months after, so I had seen a friend that I hadn't seen since high school. And one thing that he told me is, he said, "Hey man, I had asked him what he's been up to." And he said that he is working from home. I was like, "What the hell does that mean?" He's like, "I work from home." And I'm like, "How do you work from home? Like, what does that even mean?" I didn't understand what that meant. Up until that point, I had a Facebook page that I posted like once a week on or whatever. And that's when I went to YouTube. I still remember I had a Toshiba laptop, was literally this thing, was probably like 20 pounds heavy. I still have it just to remind me. And I went on YouTube. It was probably like, I don't know, I had only been to YouTube maybe like half a dozen times prior to that. And I just started researching how to make money online. But prior to that, right after my restaurant, I started driving for Uber, and I started washing dishes at Hilton, which is how I was just kind of making ends meet until I got into Amazon.
Wow. Wow, man. And once you got into Amazon, right? You started the restaurant happened, you started studying, you were working Uber and washing dishes. How'd you get started in Amazon? What was the first steps? What'd you do to really get it going up? Well, not off the bat, but to get it going to the point where you are right now.
Yeah. It was a minute. So you would think that one would have learned from their mistakes after having gone through that experience, but not me. Did not learn from it. I would have to lose another 7,000 for me to actually learn from my mistakes. So what I did is I started researching everything. I mean, everything what you see today, when you go searching about, ways to make money online. And something about Amazon just stood out to me. I saw a kid, can't remember his name. I saw a kid was driving a Lamborghini, running around in a tank top. I think it was like 19, 20 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was talking about Amazon FBA. And I'm like, I'm 25. And I was very offended. I mean, I was very offended. My ego took a big hit. And I'm like, this little child can run a successful business, can live this like dream life. And you're trying to tell me I can't figure this shit out? Like, I could do this.
Nice.
So I went in and he had a course. He was selling a course. I'm like, he's probably making money from his course. He's probably not a seller. He probably doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And he was like showing like his income and how much he's making and all his bank accounts. And I'm like, this is all crap. This is all scam. He's just making money from courses. And he was even very like honest about how much he was making from his courses,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is all a scam. So I went and I started what is called retail arbitrage. And that's where you run around going to different stores, buying things physically, and then selling them on Amazon. And that was good. And I still remember the first day I woke up, I opened my app and there was a sale for $42.99. And I lit up. I mean, I went crazy because up until now, I had to buy the food, prep the food, store the food, serve it to the customer, clean after the customer to make a sale of $10 for a sandwich and a beer. And here I made probably on that sale like 10, 12 bucks in profit while sleeping. And I was like, all right, if I could do it once, how can I do it 5 times? How can I do it 10 times? How can I do it 20 times a day? How can I do it every day? How can I do it with multiple products? But the problem with the concept that I did is there was a lot of running around. There was a lot of going back and forth. and it just wasn't scalable. And that's when I discovered a concept called private label, where you go directly to the manufacturer. You get their product, you put your own label on it, you ship it to Amazon, they do all the fulfillment for you and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, I know how to do this. I went and borrowed $5,000 from my mother-in-law. She was my girlfriend's mom. I had just met her like 6 months prior to that.
Wow.
And then another $2,000 I borrowed from another friend's cousin, right? Because I had no money.
Yeah.
The only reason why I started working for Uber and washing dishes was because my employees that worked for me at the restaurant were threatening me every day that they would beat my ass if they saw me anywhere, because they hadn't gotten paid for the last couple of weeks before the restaurant burned down. And it's not that I didn't want to pay them. I had no money. Yeah. So I just started working to make whatever money so I can pay these guys. And I was like 150K in debt. And I had no money to invest. And that's one thing that those that are listening or anyone watching this, people get stuck at their resources to starting something. And they say, well, I don't have $10,000 to start. Well, I don't have this much money. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know how you guys started, but I know for me, it wasn't about the resources, but as it was about being resourceful. It's about the resourcefulness, right? That's what's important. So once you make that shift in your mind, I did a story on Instagram earlier today. People ask me any question. And someone was asking about, how is it that companies will go for years breaking even or losing money, but they're still growing? How does that even happen? And I'm like, there's this thing called OPM, other people's money. You borrow, why do companies public? They use your money and my money to grow while they're losing money, right? And so it's about being resourceful. And that's when I realized that I need to become resourceful. So I borrowed money, invested in products. These products flopped. I finally just put my ego aside, and I went and bought the Tank Top Kids course, which was the shittiest course I've ever bought in my life. But it taught me 2-3 things that I realized, holy shit, this is what I did wrong. Then from there, third product success, fourth product success, and then things took off.
Nice, man. Hey, what a great investment by your mother-in-law.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I was looking at your stories, and it's true. I feel like Tony Robbins says this a bunch. It's like you just got to be resourceful and got to go out of your way to find a way to do it. If you can't find it, make a fucking way, how he says it, right?
Right.
And in that moment, your back was against the wall. You were in debt. You had to figure something out, right? It was either sink or swim at that point, or just continue working as a dishwasher and Uber driver. And you succeeded, man. Congratulations on that. Now, the part that, because I feel like for me in your story, there's 2 winning sides of it, right? The part where you persevered from your restaurant, the part where you're making money now doing this consistently, right? And then that part where you just feel unfulfilled, making money, working like that, and you opened up the university to teach others. Yeah. Can you walk us through that, how that started?
So I'm glad that you mentioned Tony Robbins, because I love Tony. And one thing that he talks about is the concept of the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment, right? And he says that it's a lot easier to achieve something, but it's very difficult, and not that difficult, but we don't have the awareness to become fulfilled. The reason why we go to school or start a business or get a job or have sex or get married or have children or whatever is because we want to feel joy. At the end of the day, it's all about how you feel. And when you feel happy, you just want to feel more happy. And then when you feel miserable, you want to feel less miserable, right? So we do all these crazy things. We buy expensive stuff and we fly private and we, buy bigger houses or fancier cars or whatever, all because we want to feel what? Fulfilled, right? It's not because we want to accomplish this or we want to have the prize or we want to have the whatever. It's because we want to feel happy. And happiness only comes from true fulfillment. And true fulfillment comes from within. It's not from external things, right? So for me, what I was trying to do was that I wanted to make money because I hadn't really made money in my life ever before that. And especially after having been in debt and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, lost the respect of my father, I needed to make money to make things right. After I started making money, then it was, okay, let me get a nicer car. Let me now start going out. Now let me start doing this, fancier dinners. Dinners started going from lunch started going from a Chipotle to a 5-star, white cloth type of dining, where dinners are now $200, $300, $400, $500, right? And then it's like, instead of going once a month, now it's twice a month, now it's once a week, right? And then when you start looking for external things to make you happy, what happens is your standard is going to keep increasing, right? So I used to like this $60 steak. Now I only like $150 steak. Now I want something even more than that, right? And that standard, because it keeps increasing, it becomes very difficult to satisfy it, because you're looking for outside to get satisfaction and to get that fulfillment. But when you realize and become aware on how to find fulfillment from inside, that's when you will become truly happy and truly fulfilled. So for me, I was looking for all these external things, money in the bank, nicer this, nicer that. And I had accomplished the science of achievement. But then now it was time for me to know how to become fulfilled, right? And I still remember it was a conversation I was having with my wife's cousin, and he asked me this question, which I now almost always ask everyone that I talk to. He said, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? This was 2018, late 2018. I had been a seller for 2.5 years. I think that year was like my first 7-figure year. I was like, holy shit, I didn't even know this kind of money existed. And he's like, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? And I just couldn't answer him. I was stuck. I just could not answer him. And that simply was because I wasn't happy anymore with what I was doing. I was, I had a multi-7-figure a year business. I was making, I don't know, 20 grand a month in profits or whatever it was. And I was like, all right, but I don't see myself just like expanding thing. I don't see myself like going on to this thing. And that's when I realized that something was broken, right? Around that same time, I had been helping a couple of people to start their own Amazon businesses, just like friends reaching out, not charging them. It's like, yeah, do this, do that. And I woke up one day to a message from this guy saying how he made 36 grand in profits in 6 months. And that was incredible. But the thing that really excited me the most was that this guy was a 22, 23-year-old kid that now his dream in life was he just wanted to, I don't know what it's called. He had a dirt bike and he would go in like tournaments around the country, right? All he wanted to do is just do that. That's all he wanted to do. And what he wanted to do is be able to afford to do that without needing to worry about, paying for the next trip or doing this. Now he had a business that was running on pretty much on autopilot while he can do these things. And to me, that was fulfilling. And that felt like, holy shit, that's cool. Not only can I take care of myself and my family, but I can take care of someone else's self and their family. And that's when things switched for me. And that pretty much was 2019 was the birth of BJK University.
Wow, man. Wow. One thing to unpack here too that I want to touch on is that mindset, man, that shift in mindset, right? That shift in mindset is something that I feel like you gain through life, or in my opinion, what helped me a lot to shift this mindset was mentors, books, Tony Robbins. I listen to Tony Robbins daily. I go to his events. What helped you shift this mindset? Books, podcasts, mentors?
It was a combination of things. Mentors 100%. I mean, I couldn't invest in, I couldn't have enough invested in mentors. I mean, I invested this year. We've probably invested almost 600 grand in consulting, mentors, masterminds, one-on-ones with people. And I'll continue to invest. Yeah. It was that combination with life lessons, combination with awareness. I think when you start becoming aware, like I hear people talking about, I'm very self-aware, Yeah. And it's like, what does that even mean? Well, how much awareness do you have? And I don't think you can have total awareness, because there's always more things you can become aware of. But just being very, not conscious, but very aware of everything that you do. Not in a sense of like, like be afraid and be careful and stuff, but just being aware of every word that comes out of your mouth, every action you make, because every action has not just a reaction, but has an impact on the thing or the person that you are acting towards. The words that you're saying, what are you saying? How are you saying them? I've been just very obsessed with that, and once I became aware that I can acquire knowledge, I became obsessed with knowledge acquisition. Because, see, the thing is, your listeners that are viewing this right now, you are here. There's always the next level. I don't care who you are. You're Elon Musk. There's always the next level. You're whoever you are. You're the best actor. There's always the next level. There's always improving. And we need progress in order for us to stay motivated in life. We have to progress. We're just creatures of habit. If we're not progressing, we're dying, right? And that doesn't mean just financial. That means everywhere. Relationships, emotionally, spiritually, physically, everywhere, right? You have to always be progressing for you to stay excited about life,
Mm-hmm.
And so when you come to a point of, I'm here, how do I go here? It's a level of awareness, but it's also a level of knowledge. And you can close those gaps. Like Tony Robbins talks about it all the time. He says, people call me all kinds of things, motivational speaker, strategist, blah, blah. He's like, what I do really is I'm a gap closer, right? He's like, I help people close gaps in all areas of their lives. So if you realize what the next gap is in your life, say you are 180 pounds with, 18% body fat, and you want to be 160 pounds, 10% body fat. Okay, so now you have a clear goal, right? Now set a target, set a deadline on that. Okay, I want 6 months. Okay, cool. Now you know the gap. You know the gap exactly. Here's where you are. Here's where I am. And okay, so now what's the vehicle that's going to take me to get there? Okay, maybe a personal trainer. Maybe I'm going to follow this guy on YouTube, whatever. Now set an exact, but what you do is you find someone that's going to help you close that gap, right? And the more you invest in these people and these vehicles, you can always buy, especially today with information all over the world, you can buy information, you can close gaps a lot faster than ever.
Yeah, man. Especially through YouTube or podcasts, it's all free.
Right.
It's all there, right? I definitely get that. And it's so minuscule too. What you just said, in the sense of like, people don't think that's like it's just your thoughts. A lot of people, when you tell them that, it's like, oh, it's your thoughts. It's how you speak. It's how you stand. It's how you breathe. It's not like Tony Robbins says, your focus, your language, and your physiology, right? But a lot of people just think it's bullshit when it's like, oh, you got to control your thoughts, what you think, what you read, what you listen to. It all goes a long way towards your success. Definitely something that's impacted my life too. With Tony Robbins, I listen to his Ultimate Edge a lot, the audio, and
Yes.
you just got to keep it on repeat, man, because you start forgetting, and you start losing these little habits that you build when you're listening to it, and you come back to it because you realize it's so important, right? Yeah, man, that's awesome. Now, in regards to the question that you ask everybody, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years with everything you have going on?
So we've created a vision for our company, and we were talking about this, offline here before we jumped on. But something that's very important for me, it's impacting people's lives. And for the longest time, I thought impact was just financial, because that's the only thing I was focused on up until about 5 months ago, when I was feeling dizzy at a supermarket. Phil had a seizure for the first time in my life. Actually, in 5 days, it'll be 6 months. Didn't know what was going on. For the following 2-3 weeks, I experienced anxiety like I've never experienced in my life. My mind just going on all these crazy thoughts. So many things I haven't accomplished in my life yet. And I thought, holy shit, I probably have something. I'm going to die in 6 months. Until I, got the results and all that. And what I realized is that for the last 12 years, I've only been focused on financial success, but I've neglected everything else. I've neglected my health. Although, I was 155 pounds, I'm like 5'9", 5'10", so decently healthy, work out 4 or 5 times a week, but really neglected it in a way that, like, yeah, sure, I go to the gym, but what about drinking? What about smoking? What about this thing? What about this other thing, right? How much water am I drinking per day? Neglected my life, my health, neglected my relationships, neglected everything else just to focus on finances. And I think it's important the thing with finances is that like, I was in a position now to pay a doctor $750 for a 20-minute consultation. Had this happened 5 years ago, I wouldn't have had the resources to do that. Now I have a performance coach who every quarter I pay 20 grand to fly to Miami and have a 2-day intensive with me, right? To get my mindset right and stuff like that.
Nice.
5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So focusing on my finances obviously allowed me to get to where I am today, but it's not everything, right? And so my mission is to impact people's lives and help them become a well-rounded human, right? And so first we want to impact them financially, because if debt collectors are calling, if you can't even feed your family, you're not worried about your health, you're not worried about your emotions, you're not worried about your relationships, you're not worried about anything else, right? That's the only thing you want to fix. So I want to help people fix their finances first, but once they do, I want to be able to help them not fix, but impact
Yeah.
all the other areas of their lives. And this could be in terms of in a way of seminars, retreats, that kind of stuff. Very, very much inspired by Tony's work and what he does. And that's my mission, man, is I want to, by 2027, I want to have impacted 1 million lives. And that's fully financial, emotional, just the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're driving for.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. And like the steps you're taking, you clearly are going to get there. That drive you have, right? I want to go back to when you started, right? Your why right now is to impact 1 million lives, and that's beautiful. But when you started off, you didn't have the success you have now, so that vision was probably a lot harder.
Yeah.
I personally, for example, when I started off, and still to this day, one of my big whys is my parents, my dad, my mom. Like my dad's worked his whole life for me to be here, right? And that's kind of my motivation. I want to like just have them financially free, have them on my bankroll, on my payroll, sorry, and pay their house off, do all of that. What was yours when you started off, that big why?
Yeah, so the big why is very important. People tell me if I'm starting a business, what's the first thing I should do? I'm like, be clear on your why, because
Yeah.
there will be days where you don't want to get out of bed. There will be days where you just get so beat up that it's like, holy shit, I cannot take another hour of this. And your why is going to be the only thing that's going to be driving you. So I'm glad that you asked this question. When I first started, it was clearing my debt, 150K, was retiring my parents and gaining the respect of my dad back, because he had invested in a restaurant and it was the last money he had. And I had promised him that I was going to save the family, and I completely failed. And he just couldn't even look me in the eyes anymore. And my dad was my idol, you know? So I needed that. And so that was my why. And then that shifted, you know? Things shift with time. You know, obviously I was able to accomplish that. And this is why I became complacent and I became like numb to the money, because like, well, I've accomplished everything that I wanted. What the hell now? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So your why will change, and that's okay. Your goals won't change, and that's okay. But learn how to celebrate them before you set another target. Like something high achievers always do is, I want to make $100,000 in the next 6 months. They do it. By the time they're at 80, oh, now I want to make 500,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. You should always be shooting for more to progress, but celebrate. And that could be dinner with friends. That could be going on a trip for 2 days. That could be whatever. Does not matter. Celebrate, recognize yourself, praise yourself for the success, and then go on to do more. So that was my why then. And then I shifted from, about me, because when you first start, especially your financial journey, it's all about me, maybe me and my parents, me and my family, and then for you to make a true big impact and keep driving forward, that's when it needs to change from me and us to them.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why now it's about impacting 1 million lives.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I feel like that's what go-getters. That's a problem that's a problem I have, at least. It's like you're a go-getter. You want more and more and more and more. And once you reach a certain goal, instead of being like happy you got there, you're just looking like, what's next?
Right.
What's freaking next, right? Like, what I gotta
Yeah.
do this, that, and you don't sit down and celebrate. And like Tony says, sometimes like you gotta look back and see how much you've accomplished rather than keep looking ahead and seeing what you haven't accomplished. The gap
Right.
in the gain, right? The mindset, that shift in mindset. It's one of the things that has helped me a bunch, and that's great, man. That's beautiful. Now, in regards to your current business, you've helped over 6,000 students, I believe I read, correct?
Almost. Yes.
Wow, man, that's remarkable. And these students, so let's say right now, just for somebody that's starting off that wants to get into the business of Amazon, what would be like the first steps you would tell them to take in order to succeed? Obviously, I know there's no 3 steps to success, but something that you right now with your knowledge, you would say, okay, I would do it this way because you've made a bunch of mistakes already this way.
Yeah. Here are 2 things. Number one, get clear on your why. That literally, that's the very first thing I tell everyone. Get clear on that why. Again, that will drive you more than anything. Number 2, do not try to start a business with a budget. See what it needs and then do everything that you can to make that happen, right? I hear a lot of times people are like, well, I've got $500 in the bank. I only make $1,000 a month. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? That has nothing to do with how much success you can have.
Yeah.
That is a very scarce and limited mindset, right? You got to think about, what is the thing that I'm trying to start need? Okay, I need 20 grand. I need 50 grand. I need to do this thing. Okay, well, how can I make that happen? Well, but, my friends, this. It's like, dude, there is no lack of money. There's abundance amount of everything, resources around you. Again, it goes back to the resourcefulness. You don't need resources. You need to be resourceful, right? So those would be the kind of the two things that I would focus on.
Yeah, yeah, and like it's crazy because a lot of people that I interview say a lot of the same things. Like, it's your mindset first. It's kind of like how you see things, how you attack things. But everybody wants that steps. Like, hey man, like I want step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and it's never like that. And they message me like, hey man, you didn't ask him this, that. It's like, brother, I mean, I did, and they're telling you how to start. Like, they're the ones that are in control here, And yeah, I totally agree with you on that, man. I want to thank you so much for taking the time coming on the show. It's really been an honor. Like I said, I've been following you for quite some time. I've seen your success. You're a motivation. You're an inspiration. Continue it, man, because you inspire others. You've inspired persons like me and 6,000 students, right? Where can my audience find you? What's your Instagram, your website, all that?
Yeah, so I think the best way is to go to Instagram at basharjkatou.com, or I'm sorry, not .com, just at basharjkatou. Just make sure it's the one with the like 2-3 million followers, because there's like half a dozen or a dozen others that are unfortunately trying to scam people using my name. So it's the one with the most amount of followers. Follow me and check out my stuff, and hope you enjoy it.
I mean, yeah, follow him. You'll see it right away. It's worth the follow. Guys, everything will be on the notes as always. His website, his Instagram, his YouTube. Click it, follow him, connect with him, look into his university. It's great. He's helped 6,000 students for a reason, and people continue coming back to him. Bashar, man, thank you again for coming on the show, and hopefully I'll have you again soon.
Thank you.